Their paint can exploded, and that is the story of why I can never eat apple pie again. Okay, that was a weird intro. Okay, before it gets even weirder, I'm sure it will get weirder. I need to do this. I acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, the Whadjuk Noongar people. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and to Aboriginal elders and peoples from other communities who may be taking part in this live stream today. See, I can barely speak. Yeah, there is evidence of slight beard. There's how long is this? It's like 6 or 7 days. Give it another 2 weeks, it'll be back. It won't be full Kratos mode, but it'll be getting there. Yeah, DIY in the Ghetto says, damn, apple pie sounds good right now, but I'm more of a coconut pie guy. What the hell is coconut pie? Coconut pie? How would you even make a pie with coconut? I don't know, but that sounds interesting. DIY says, isn't this supposed to be Shave December? Since November was No Shave November. Oh, I did things backwards. I shaved in November, No Shave December. Raspberry Pi. Okay. Oh, right, Chip. You're talking about the Raspberry Pi. Yes. So, Chip is outside the box for those who are taking 1 plus 1 and not adding it up to 2. And Chip phoned me right before the live stream, and I realized just before the live stream began that I needed to prepare a Raspberry Pi because I want to try today to get a regular Raspberry Pi running as an access point and see how what am I saying? See how it goes when it's not using the let's get this off the screen just for a second. Set host name, I'm going to call this one IoT. See, my words are not working today. Words are hard. IoT AP4. Public key authentication, yes. Set a username, yes. Configure wireless LAN, I will not because I'm going to plug in Ethernet. None of the rest matters. Yes, all right, so what is going on? What is going on? Oh yeah, I got it. And now at least you get to see how many characters my password is. What's going on is I was not sure what to do on the live stream today, and I've been doing the IoT access point for a while, and each live stream, it's 2 hours of very little progress each time because I spend so much time just talking about random stuff or trying to get my head around it and trying to make things work. So it's felt like forever getting to this point. The last few live streams, once we got the Ethernet interface up and running on the carrier board, since then it's been just a bit of messing around with the scripts, and so yeah, it hasn't been a whole lot of progress each time. Sorry. It's a weird start this week. I came into this feeling like I was prepared, and now I feel totally unprepared. It just sort of snuck up on me. So I was going to give it a miss this week and talk about other stuff, but there have been some posts in Discord with some suggestions about things like script improvements. There are also board changes to make and to discuss the LED ring. I've got some ideas about that, the simple way to do it versus the probably more interesting way to do it. So maybe we'll lay out a board today, we shall see. And what else? Oh yes, that's right, what's on the screen right now, which is just preparing a Raspberry Pi image so that I can boot up a regular Raspberry Pi, plug in Ethernet, do some setup on it, and see if we can get the setup scripts to work on either our custom board or a regular Raspberry Pi, so that anybody that wants to try this can try it without having to do all of the hardware. Okay, so firstly, who is here? Outside the box, so Chip is here. Henrik, Michael, DIY in the Ghetto, Austin is here. It's good to have Austin here because he's got some ideas about the auto switching on the Power over Ethernet sources. Stephen, Dave Paul Jones, Trady Trev, Tassie Bob. Aha, good morning Tassie Bob, good to see you. Darren's here. Beards or so yesterday. Why should I shave again, Darren? Family plans, cable tie, some call it fun. Trady Trev says, got myself a Pi 4 on a DIN mount ready to go. Well, right now I have a Pi 4 sitting over there, which is the one that I was going to use, just because it's the only one that is not allocated to another point. I'm just looking around to see if I've got a random Raspberry Pi. I have a whole box of Raspberry Pis sitting just up there. Let me drag the box down. Oh, if I can reach it. I must be getting shorter. My spine is getting compressed. So, what do I have? I have this box of random Raspberry Pi stuff. Did it. Random Raspberry Pi stuff. Sadly, the Pis that are in it are... Well, there is this one. This is the Pi that was running my tub finder system. It's got the camera on it, so this is the one where I could talk to she who shall not be named and ask where something is, and it would tell me based on the code, and it would scan and I would look around on the image and find the location of all the boxes. But that's not running. So, but this is a Pi 3. What is it? I think it's a 3B plus. So that's a candidate for us to use for testing. I will just make sure that I keep that SD card assigned. But I have a few like early Pis. These are really old ones, which sadly are so slow and old. What is this one? Raspberry. It just says Raspberry Pi. It doesn't even have a version on it. Copyright 2011. And this one is a... Yeah, it's the same. These two are identical. Very early Raspberry Pis, and I've got a couple more odds and ends in here, but it's mostly historical stuff. Not very useful. So I think what I'm going to do is use this one, which is the Pi 3B plus, and I will just go ka-choink, remove that SD card and put that aside, because I do not want this SD card to have anything bad to happen to it. That's the one that does the Aruco code detection, and it's got the scripts on it that do all the fun things. So I will put that tub aside. Historical and or hysterical. Yes, that's right, Michael. Oh, Henrik said, I have an old one as well. I think it's not that slow. I think it plays Minecraft fine. Right. Sorry, I'm just catching up. Yeah, what to do with old Pis? Cable tie asks. Yes, what to do with old Pi? Some call it fun, says composite video for the win. Yes. Composite video, not very useful in most situations. All right, so this particular one is it's set up with an OLED hat, which is a Pi hat that I worked on with Chris Fryer, and we used this one on one of the, I think it was on Nick's wheelchair. We set up Nick's wheelchair with this mounted on the back, and it had, is this one with the CAN bus interface? No. I think there's a, yeah, there's another, no, it can't have been this one. We've got another one that's got a CAN bus interface on it as well. So we had this on the wheelchair for sending commands to the wheelchair motor controller that we designed. So how are we going with the right? It is getting there. Cable Tie says, I'm in the process of deploying one for running a backup 4G cellular modem for my household internet. That's a good idea. So, are you running like a 4G USB dongle plugged into it? Oh, Michael says, Pi with a CAN bus interface. Evil thoughts. Yes, I've been running a wheelchair with a Raspberry Pi with CAN bus talking to the wheelchair motor controller. So I've got a CAN, it's around here somewhere. I've got a CAN shield. Where is it? I don't know. I won't go looking for that right now. Trady Trev says, I got myself an original for an open sprinkler project. Yeah, they're a bit of a slow dog. Right. Tassie Bob says, looks at a couple of CAN shields I have right in front of me for reasons. Yeah, CAN bus is fun. It's interesting. It's one of those things that took me, I was going to say it took me a long time to get my head around, but that would be a lie because I still haven't got my head around it. But it is a really, really interesting technology and very useful. Over the last few years I've been doing a lot of CAN work. Trady Trev says, Voltlog made his own CAN bus device with an ESP32 device. Yeah, I've done a lot of CAN with ESP32. That's, yeah, the water cannon that has ESP32s running CAN bus. That's how we control them. DIY says, I would love to have a 4G backup modem for my home internet. Tourist, only 12 minutes late. Alright, so I'm kind of killing time while this Raspberry Pi imager finishes, but I don't even need to because there is other stuff that we can do. Alright, that has now finished anyway. Let's have a look. I'm just going to pop that out of my computer. Oh, Henrik says, I'm so exhausted making an electrical puzzle box right now with a lot of stuff. I assume that's box, not bow. Yeah. And Ross says, I have an old Pi hooked up to a WireGuard server at my house. It allows me to remote into my father-in-law's computer and fix stuff easily. Yeah. So there are some uses for old Raspberry Pis. I just found that they are quite painful. They're so frustratingly slow. But at the moment, when you can't buy Raspberry Pis, that's, yeah, got to find something to do with them. Now, what I'm going to do is bring this up here, which you can't see yet, but you will in just a moment. In fact, why not right now? So, this is in Discord. What have we got? I'm looking for the IoT access point channel. Okay. So, there are a couple of things that have been posted in here since last week, and they are possibly improvements that could be made. So, Austin's going back a little bit further. So there was some discussion about here about starting the interface early, and Tony pointed out the problem is that means it will receive a random it'll get a random MAC address, and then the MAC will be reset and the IP will possibly change. So, well, it should change. If the DHCP server is doing its job properly, it should change. So it's not a good idea to start the Ethernet early in the boot process. It's best to start it manually when we have control over what MAC address it's going to have. Okay, so then there was some discussion about using the HAT EEPROM, and I'll just skip over that for now. Okay. The following, this is probably worth doing. So Angry Telstra Man said, the following script runs on boot which detects the current IP and then adds it to etc. issue, And that is useful because if you plug in something like a monitor, you'll be able to see what the IP address is. This is something that would be really useful. I find that this is an issue on Raspberry Pis just in general. I think it would be really nice if they had this out of the box. In fact, I think it would be really nice if just Linux distros in general did this out of the box. Often I'll do something like, I don't know why, but I find myself very often booting Linux boxes without a keyboard or mouse. So I may have a monitor plugged into it, but no keyboard or mouse, and therefore I can't actually do any commands like ifconfig to find out what its network interface is. And it would be really nice if the prompt that came up, like just the boot message that came up, displayed the IP address. And funny thing is, that is actually one of the reasons why I designed this. So this OLED hat, which goes on the Raspberry Pi, it's got an LCD on it. And the reason is that I can have a script on the Pi that when it boots up, it displays its network information on here. And then you can SSH into it. So having a script like this, which prints it to the console on startup, would be very useful. You can just edit etc. issue file and add ETH0. Okay, cool. Show the IP address on ETH0. Oh, and Park said, another tip, add a script to etc. update MOTD. So MOTD is message of the day. That's a holdover from old school Unix. Message of the day. Back when sysops would update the message of the day so that when users logged into the system, they would see the message, whatever it was, like planned maintenance windows, etc. Back in the days when people didn't necessarily have their own computers, they were doing timeshare stuff or logging into central systems. Message of the day is not so useful when it's only your own machine and it's you updating it. But MOTD can be used for informational purposes at startup as well. Now, auto restart. Cool. So Tony has put up another little script here. Environmental parameters. So this is a typical service file I use with systemd. While it's not exactly correct for the access point, it has some additional elements you may want to consider. For example, auto restart. Okay, restart on failure. Yep. Cool. Interesting information. Oh, is Tassie Bob having to go? I just saw a few people saying goodbye to Tassie Bob. Oh, Joel says you can actually put basic tops info into MOTD too. And Michael says, doesn't Etsy MOTD only show after login anyway? Still need to log in, e.g. keyboard at least. Yes, I think you are right. I think that's right. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Amanda. What's happened to Tassie Bob? Why did Tassie Bob have to go? Okay. Tourist said, yes, it is worth using this for all the bridge adding and removal upon the interface coming up and down. Do it or I'll code it. Okay, I'm not quite sure what that's referring to. Probably something I was talking about just a minute ago. But I've lost track of what that was. Jack's Tech says you can have a banner before MOTD. Henrik says he has some Tassie stuff to do. Yes, Tassie Bob is going to do Tassie stuff. Oh, Joel says you can have the MOTD display on SSH Connect. Yeah, unfortunately that is not useful in terms of finding the IP to do the SSH in the first place. Yes, as Michael points out. And zeroconf and using DNS could largely work around that, but IP, I don't know why. I prefer IPs. Yeah, etc. issue is a much better plan. Okay, so what are we going to do? What are we going to do today, brain? Now, funny thing is, you know that whole quote about, so brain, what are we going to do today? Or whichever way around it is. I know that that is a quote, and I know that the follow-up is what, something like, what we always do, take over the world. I've never actually seen what that's from. I don't even know what it's from. It's just one of those things that I've heard referenced so many times. So I'm probably misquoting it because I don't know what the original quote is. Now, okay. Let's put this. All right, so what we've got here is, and I apologize, I wonder if I can zoom in on, no, Discord doesn't want to zoom in. Maybe I can, no, maybe in preferences or something I could change the font size. No, I shouldn't be showing stuff like that. Okay, let's stay out of preferences. Control Shift Plus, yeah, that's what I was just trying. Control Shift Plus does nothing. Or plus star. Plus star? What? Plus, I don't know. Screenshot and zoom the screenshot. No. Okay, we'll get into a console soon anyway, and then this won't be relevant. So what Angry Telstra Man has put in here is this, which is a script that that looks at the interface and gets the IP address and then sticks it into Etsy issue so that it can be seen later. But then, a little bit further down, Angry Telstra Man also says you can just edit Etsy issue file and add ETH0 blah this, and it will show you the IPv4 address on ETH0. Alright, so that is the simpler way to do it, but more limited because it doesn't, I think that it will only show you that limited information. Although this is only doing the ETH0 IPv4 address as well. So I'm not sure what the advantages of doing all of that as a script rather than using this in it's at Etsy issue. TNT Watcher, are you pondering what I'm pondering? Yeah, oh, Joel says the second one's a simple way. Yep. So what I'm wondering is, what is the advantage of the non-simple way? Oh, Pinky. Okay, so it's Pinky and the Brain. Pinky, what are we going to do tonight, Brain? And Brain says the same thing we do every night. Pinky, plot to take over the world. Oh, I'm disappointed. I thought it was take over the world, not just plot to take over the world. Where's the ambition? Where's the self-confidence that you're actually going to pull it off? You can't just plot it. You need to actually do it. So, all right. Enough messing around. I'm going to... What am I going to do? I'm going to grab the SD card that I just copied. I'm going to stick it into... We're better off doing this, aren't we? I'm going to stick it into here. This is the Pi 3B Plus. We're going to need ourselves some Ethernet because I did not enable Wi-Fi in the image. We're going to need ourselves some juice. So I'm going to turn on one of the lab power supplies, send some juice in here, and once I power this up, so what have I got it set to? 12 volts, 2 amps. That will do. Go. So that's now powering up. Actually, I just realized something. Before it gets too far, I'm going to stop that because I've got the jumpers in place here for PoE. I may have just done something really bad to the Ethernet switch. Let's see. Hopefully not, but it's possible. Although these diodes, I just don't remember, and I don't want to risk, sorry, soldering iron 1, turn on. Okay, I just turned on soldering iron 1. Oh, it's got the wrong tip in it. I'll go for big chunky tip. And just remove the solder bridges. Shoot. They don't want to come off. Got to use some wick. There we go. Wicket good. All right. And now, electrons inject, take 2. So sometime in a little bit, we should have a device come up on the... Chip says, when he turned on the lab power supply, a vehicle drove past and it sounded like a huge power device spun up. No, that was actually it. That was the fan in the power supply. When it turns on, it spins up its fan momentarily at full speed, and then it decelerates and does it based on the thermal regulation. But yes, right at the moment that I turned on the power supply, there would have been a woo. Right. Do we have... Oh, we've got disk activity. Oh no, disk activity is finished, which means I think it's finished booting. We have network, although that... I wonder if I did kill the port on the Ethernet switch. That would really, really suck. Okay. What am I looking for? I am looking for... I'm looking for a console. So, not a console, I'm looking for a terminal. Let's see if we can log into it. Pi at iotap4.local. Haha! Yes, we have network. Let's Wi-Fi is currently blocked by RF kill. Use Raspberry config to set the country before use. Okay. Raspberry, that's an interesting sort of, sudo Raspberry config. That's an interesting one because I did not specify a, in the config on the imager, it had an option to specify what Wi-Fi network to connect to, and I said do not connect to a Wi-Fi network, therefore it didn't allow me to select a country. Where is this? System network? No. Interface? Where is Wi-Fi in this? Where is Wi-Fi? No, I didn't mean to exit. Display, interface, performance, localization. Yes, WLAN country. Here we go. Okay. Let's set it to Aussie, Australia. Yes, and then it's probably going to want to reboot. No, didn't want to reboot. Okay, that's cool. So now, next thing is, yes. Joel said, must be disabled until we know what frequencies to use. Yes, that's right. I would reboot anyway. I think you're right, Michael. So I'm going, that would also, okay, while that is rebooting, let's open ourselves another terminal and also embiggen that one. I'm going to go, which way am I going to go? Yeah, that can be my left terminal, this can be my right terminal, and this one is going to go into I'm going to go into projects and CD into IoT AP. Oh, and do that. All right, so what I'm going to do, my general plan with this is to follow the sequence of if I was setting this up the same as if it was one of our custom APs. And we'll just see how badly wrong it goes. It's probably going to go wrong because of not having the W5500 chip on it. But I don't know how badly wrong or where it will go wrong. So what we've got to do is SCP, the software directory, I believe, onto the box, IoT AP4 .local, and that worked, which means that it is up, which is nice. Uptime, yeah, and it didn't give the warning about the region this time, so that's good. Thank you very much. So now, so are you going to get all your files from Git or local? Oh, I just copied from my local copy, which is a yeah, there have been some changes on there, but the software hasn't changed. Yeah, it's a directory just managed in Git. It's just a so if I now go into that software directory, -LA, it hasn't copied the .git. That's right, it's a subdirectory of a repo, so it's not going to have the .git directory in it. So this is the moment of truth. What I'm going to do is I need to sudo that, don't I? I can't remember. Let's read our readme. So usage, do that, and then sudo setup. So sudo./setup, and let's see what happens. Donk, donk, donk. So Ross said, I've always wanted to set up things like this automatically with Ansible playbooks, but it always seems such a pain to set up. Yeah, there are lots of automation frameworks and things around that allow you to manage fleets of machines, and that's the sort of thing that we probably should use for this. But up until this point, it's really been just trying to make the basic functionality work properly, and then we can figure out how to wrap that functionality into one of those management systems. Yeah, as Thomas V says, you set it up once and deploy many. That's what makes IT less painful in the end, definitely. Yeah, not really useful for testing, and also it can be difficult for development. Okay, it has it has just kicked me out. So that's interesting. I think what that means is that it probably killed the Ethernet interface, and there's still some disk activity going on. I wonder if it rebooted. Does it reboot at the end of that script? I don't know. But in any case, I do not. Oh yeah, okay. It's up 0 minutes, so it did reboot. Let's have a look at that setup script again. It does. It reboots at the end of the setup script. All right, so that wasn't something bad happening. And of course we do have, we've got WLAN 0, which has a strange IP address. We've got the bridge device, and we have the Ethernet interface up. So let's have a look in network. No, not there. We want host apd .conf, and what are we doing? So we're running Superhouse 4 as the SSID, and I've got this one probably already has. Let's have a look in here. Where are the, oh, there we go, host apd wpa psk. So this is the keys. So that okay, it doesn't have any keys in it. Oh, that is the key for my, or is it AABBCC? That looks suspiciously generic. What I want to do is put in the Mac for my phone. So let's have a quick look. I'm just going to fiddle around on my phone and find what its Mac is, because I can't remember. Oh, interesting. I just saw that Superhouse 4 has come up as an available network. If we're really lucky, this is just going to work. It's not going to require any changes at all. So I'm just checking IP, my Mac. Where is my Mac? On here. Wi-Fi. I can't remember where I got it from. Here we go. It is, okay, so the start of that is correct. It's F460E2, and then it's got some different things. So let's edit that, and of course this is where normally I would go sudo vim, and then it would say vim isn't there, and then I would complain about systems not having vim, but we've played that game before, so let's not play it. Let's instead do this. I'll go back to old school VI. So E9 7D, instead of that modern and super user-friendly Vim, your pass1, that'll do as a password. Okay, so now I've got to restart the service. So it is sudo what is it? System CTL host APD restart, something like that. Other way around. I always get this wrong. It's the verb first. Restart. Is that going to do the thing? Alrighty. Now, let us do some testing. Switch to overhead camera, just so you can see my phone. Alright, so this should now be our access point. Hello over there. So let's come down to here, we'll go to here, and what networks are available? Superhouse 4, that is the one that it is broadcasting, select that. Obtaining IP address, connected. What is happening? How is this working? It is working now. Okay, let's just open Twitter, see if we can get an update or something. Right, yes, it's updating. So let's see what IP we've been allocated. Yeah, more settings. Superhouse 4. No. Oh, actually, that doesn't matter. I can share that QR code because this is the bogus network. That was not actually what I was trying to do. I was trying to click this. So status Wi-Fi 4. Link speed 72 megabits a second, signal strength excellent. Let's try, I'm going to see if I can do a speed test off this. The thing is that the speed test, Alright, I'm going to take this off camera for a minute and go to, just opening a browser, because this is probably going to reveal things that I don't necessarily want to reveal. And I'm happy to tell you what my ISP is. I'm on Aussie Broadband, which is pretty awesome. Is this even, I'm going to turn off mobile data. This speed seems, check this out. This is maxing out my broadband connection. 49, so 50 megabits a second on the download. That is actually kind of amazing. This is both good and it's making me sad. It's making me sad that it is so slow on the W5500 version. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to do a speed test against a local machine as well. So, Thomas V says, really no fibre? No, no fibre here. This is the backwaters of Australia. Ah, okay. I'm sitting here mentally kind of spinning a bit. where does we go from here? Okay, so what we've just discovered is the script that is currently on Git works perfectly fine on a Raspberry Pi 3B+. You can download it, run it, and you will have yourself a wireless access point with personal pre-shared keys. So that is a win. Okay, that's really good. But what this is making me sad about is how slow the W5500 is with the being run off our custom carrier board. So it makes me oh, yeah, this is a good point. I was just doing a speed test on the link that I am streaming from. Steven said audio and video are out of sync, or is it just me? Outside the box says I'm seeing lag. Cable Tie says did it for me too. Oh, yes. Oh, that is silly. Amori says, just got myself some W6100 chips. Does IPv6? Yeah, I've got 6100s as well. I did I prototyped a version of an Ether 10 replacement with a W6100, but I ended up building a prototype with the 5500 instead. 5500 might just be a slow chip indeed. It's possible. And I don't know if it is the 5500 or if it is because no, surely SPI would be able to keep up. SPI is fast. That shouldn't be it. All right. I am going to open a can while I sit and ponder this whole thing. Okay. I don't know. I'm kind of befuddled right now. Maybe what I should do is start up the other access point, do a speed test on that. I think it was only getting about 5 megabits per second. I'm pondering where this delay is. So we've got, yeah, outside the box says voice is still a second or so behind video. Amuri said, I spent so much money at JLC PCB this week. Yeah, I did too. I know this is a squirrel, but I'm just going to chase it anyway. I ordered some PCBs for a client yesterday. No, Friday. It's Sunday today, isn't it? Yeah, I ordered some PCBs for a client on Friday. They're quite large PCBs, and I ordered 75 of them. So it was, I mean, it's not a big quantity, but physically it's a few kilos of PCBs. It's a physically sizable order because each of the boards is like massive. And the boards cost me $115. The shipping cost $150, give or take, or somewhere in that region. And it really made me do a double take because I think that might be the first time that I've ordered from JLC and the cost of shipping has been more than the cost of the PCBs. And I haven't gone back to look, but it's making me really tempted to go back because this is a particular board that I've ordered a few times before. In fact, many times before, that same PCB. And I'm tempted to go back and look at previous orders and compare the shipping cost, like the ratio of the shipping cost to the bare PCBs. But it's very sad that it's getting to the point where the cost of a PCB, so what that means is something like 60% of the cost of the PCB is just physically getting it to me. It's not making the PCB. Sad. Yeah. And that was without a stencil. I mean, adding stencils really adds to the price, particularly because I order stencils in frames, which means they're physically big, and shipping costs a fair bit for those, just based on dimensions. So yeah, the cost, just the cost of moving stuff around has gone up so dramatically. Henrik asked, how much do you know about Arduino coding? I don't know. Were you asking me? Not very much. I'm a bit of an Arduino noob. Yeah, I'm just not very good at coding. I do it a lot, but I'm not very good at it. Now, Amori says, I ordered the first batch of boards for my PDP-1170 clone. Oh, nice. Building a PDP-11. Is it like a fully functioning PDP-11 in discrete logic, or is it using a Raspberry Pi or something and then just the control panel in front of it? Because I've seen it done both ways. What I'm thinking about doing. Okay, enough blathering around. My brain has been spinning the last 5 minutes. Let's just go back to here. And I'm going, because I need to use the same power supply and Ethernet cable, I'm going to halt this, and I'm going to get my, I'm going to go and get, what am I going to get? The access point. It's up here. Oh look, we've got a we've got a halfway screen. It's Ghost me in behind the console. That actually looks really cool. That's an unintentional effect. That's what happens when the ATEM gets halfway through switching between two inputs, and it does this kind of weird merge thing, which technically it shouldn't be possible to do because oh no, on this ATEM it can. It's got enough video mixer channels. So if I wanted to actually go back to here, I can do that. Okay, so the Pi has finished shutting down. I'm going to pull power, pull Ethernet, and here we have the Pi, the access point. So what have we got? Ethernet. I'm not going to do power over Ethernet. I'm just going to shove power straight in. And does it have an SD card? Yes, it does. So we'll let our AP do its thing. Oh, Imogen. Hello, rolling in late. Welcome, Imogen. Funky ghost shell. Yeah, Stephen says. I quite liked that effect. That was cool. I wonder if I can achieve it again. If I try switching to front camera and then stop the transition halfway through, I'll see if we get the ghost effect. Yes, we did. Now I'll just try going back part way. Oh, it did the transition instantly that time. Okay, I'm going to try it again, but depending on how quickly I press the button, how far through the transition it is, depends on how much of a transparency effect we'll get. There we go. Now I'm the ghost of the access point. Moonface. Oh. Yes, Michael says, I wonder if the speed difference is a function of RPi 0 versus Pi 3B. Yes, I am tempted to plug a 3B into the carrier board. That would, and what we would have to do is make sure that it disables the onboard Ethernet. So there might be a bit of stuffing around, but that is definitely worth doing. But before doing that, okay, what we've got now is this. So I'm going to SSH to Pi IoTAP3, which is the image that's running in that access point. At least I think it is. Or was it 4? I don't know. 4 was in the Pi that I was just running a minute ago. Why don't I have network? Maybe I had already used 4. No. Tradie Trev likes the AP as my ghost head. I'm already... Oh, said you can probably program that. Yeah, I could... The ghost effect, I think I could. I could probably script it. Yeah, and Thomas V says the speed difference, that boils down to more cores at a slightly faster rate. Would that really make a difference? I don't think so, because the Pi 0W should be capable of way more than 5 megabits per second. Why aren't I getting into this? Why? Oh, there we go. Okay, it was just taking a while to boot. So, all right, we are now logged into our own custom access point. So let's do the exact same thing. I'm going to switch to overhead camera, grab my phone, come down to here, do the thing. It still says it's connected to Superhouse 4. Oh, okay, yes, of course it is. So Superhouse 4 is the same SSID that is being broadcast off this. So we are on Superhouse 4. That's good. I've got mobile data turned off because I don't want it to be using that. I want to force it to be doing this. So let's do speedtest.net again and go. And we'll see what it gets. Connecting to Telstra server in Windsor. What have we got? 22 milliseconds ping. That's similar. But look at this rate. 5 megabits a second. Bit over. And then a bit down. So we are getting 10 times the throughput on the 3B Plus as we do on the Pi 0 with the W5500. So, I do like the suggestion. What chip is on the 3B Plus? I don't know. I have a feeling that there may... Is there Ethernet built into the... I have a feeling that there is Ethernet built into the silicon on the main processor, and then they just have a PHY externally. Thomas V says it's something integrated with USB controller. Yeah, okay. So what am I doing? That's right, I am shutting this down because what I want to do now is I want to take the 3B Plus and put it on the carrier board and try to get it to use the W5500. Yeah, hopefully this will work and we can disable the onboard controller. Yeah. Oh, Michael says 3B Plus is technically 1 gigabit, but you never get that speed. It does about 300 megabits or so. Henrik says, I have an idea. Can you connect to HDMI and open a web browser and do speed test there? I don't know what that would do or why that would benefit. Sorry, I don't understand what you're getting at, Henrik. I'm just pulling power from this. Here we go. All right. If this is a drinking game, what is the drinking game for today? I don't know. I just need one. iPerf to the Mac would be easier. Yes. Alright. So, for today, okay, let's start with this. I'm going to, I've got to remove that hat and stick this into the carrier board, and I think I'll also switch. Well, oh no, it doesn't matter. I was going to say I'll switch the SD cards, but they both have the same image on them. Well, not the same image, but they're both running the same setup script. So in theory, there shouldn't be any real difference between them apart from their host name. In fact, that really should be the only difference between the images on those SD cards, because they were both 32-bit Raspbian OS images. I'll take the camera off as well, just to save that getting in the way, potentially getting damaged. Alright, so, is it physically going to fit? Oh, it's not. I'm going to have to remove that capacitor. Okay, I can do that. I'll get this off. And even if I do that, is it going to? It's not going to fit while it's in the enclosure, so it's got to come out of the enclosure as well. But I think this is worth it. This is an interesting test. So if we still get about the same throughput, like if we still get 5 megabits or a bit under 5 megabits per second, then we're going to know that it is not the Pi 0W that's the bottleneck, it's the Ethernet on here. And if that really is the problem, it's definitely worth investigating what's going on here and whether it is worth switching to another chip entirely. So now I've got to get that, get myself a bit of flux in here, just for a bit of extra heat transfer. What tip do I want? I'll go for a K tip. And see if I can get this capacitor off. Woo! I'll let the smoke out. There goes the flux. Ease it up a little bit on this side. A little bit on this side. And then back to the first side. And then we should be getting close to getting it free. So it should come off now. There we go. Capacitor removed. Now, that's the cap on the switch mode regulator. Or is it? Hang on, what rail is that on? That is on the no, that's not the 3.3 volt rail. That's the 5 volt rail. So we've got, do we need that cap? It'll probably work fine without it. I could just wire one in sideways, but I don't think it really matters. Let's just try it without. Okay. Oh, you know what I should have done? I should have got some riser headers and just plugged this in above it. Oh, now I think of it. Let's see what we've got in the header box. Some stacking headers would have done the job just fine. Now, which pins do we care about? Did I mark them on here? No, I didn't. Well, that was an oversight. But I'm pretty sure that the ones we care about are... I'm very tempted to put that capacitor back on. In fact, I'm going to do it. Will it be high enough? Oh no, maybe it won't. Okay, I'll leave the capacitor off for now. Where did I just throw that header? I had it in my hand, like right then. How can I lose things that were in my hands right in front of me? Only I can pull that off. I'm looking for more headers. No, I don't have enough in this, in my local header cache box anyway, so I'm going to go to the source, which is just around the other side of the bench. Stacking headers, stacking headers. Here we go. Many, many stacking headers. So please talk among yourselves while I am ignoring the chat. I'm not able to see what's going on at the moment. Oh, bent pin. So as I said, as I was saying, I don't even know which pins matter. All the power pins are up towards this end of the Raspberry Pi header, and I don't know if there's anything much further down. I'm just going to skip one there, just because I can, and skip one there, and hopefully the pins that I've skipped are not ones that matter. Yeah, do as I say, not as I do. This is the Dodgy Brothers approach to doing things. Oh, and I can't even align the pins properly, just because, oh, I see why. It's because that and that. Okay, I'm going to pull that and move that down a spot, have it overlap. So I've got gaps. I've got a couple of gaps there. Hopefully the three pins that I have not connected are not pins that matter. Very few of the pins matter in this case. It's just SPI and power. We don't really care about I2C and that sort of thing. So, now, what I need to do, yeah, I wouldn't have fitted that capacitor under there. So what I want to do is, I'm going to put Ethernet into the W5500 interface, not the onboard interface. And then we will power it up and see what happens. If we're really super lucky, we'll get the RGB LEDs coming to life as well. That may be asking a bit much. No, thinking about it, that's probably one of the things that will work, assuming that I didn't miss the I2C pins. So, should be booting. We've got some activity on there. Yeah, a little bit of activity. Flicker, flicker, flicker. Let it boot. Yes, there we go. We got the RGB LED pins flickering. All right, so let's see if we have, this was IoT-IP4, wasn't it? So let's, connection refused. Well, that's a good sign. It means that it's probably still starting its services. Or maybe it's not a good sign. That usually means it's just a bit too early in the boot process still. And like the interface is up, or it's, but it hasn't, no. Okay, what I'm going to do is switch the Ethernet cable from there and plug it into here, just in case that network has come up after all. And let's try this again. It has. Sorry, I'm pausing because I'm hearing something. I don't know what I'm hearing. It's like a hissing noise, which is usually a very bad sign. Don't know. And as you can see, yeah, I don't know. But, okay, so we've got the wrong interface. Coil wine. Oh, yes, that's what it will be. You're right, it's the power supply. Because I really should have stuck a capacitor in there. I could patch one in, but nah. Screw it, live dangerously. Okay, what do we have? We've got ETH0 and ETH1 and a bridge. And you can, so it has brought up both the interfaces. Now, what was the command for checking bridge? What was it? BR control show? Okay, so we've got ETH0 and WLAN 0. So let's do bridge control add ETH1 BR0. Nope, I got my syntax wrong there. All right, let's do cats software And then where's the command? Setup, was it in setup or was it in, let's be lazy. Bridge control in software, blah. Please show me the syntax. There we go. Sudo bridge control, add if, br0 eth1. Okay. Now, if we do bridge control, show, now we have both interfaces on it. Amori says, by the way, the IP should be set on the bridge interface, not eth0 nor eth1. Yes, okay. All right, so I'm going to exit out of this. Amori, I'm sure you are right. I am just going to pass it over right now while I am in the process of figuring out. Okay, so I exited out of it. I'm going to come back over here, unplug from there, plug into here, and I don't think this is going to make, adding that bridge interface, I don't think will have solved this problem, but hey, hopefully. SSH to there. It did. We're in. We're in. All right. So now google.com. Yes, okay. So by switching to eth1 or adding eth1 to the bridge, then we've got it. All right, so here we go. This is going to be the test. I'm going to switch to overhead. And we're going to come back to here. So we're still connected to Superhouse 4. And I'm going to go back into Chrome, speed test. Okay, here we go. Speed test. We were getting around 22 milliseconds ping earlier. The ping is lower, 14 milliseconds. Throughput is higher, but it's still, well, not much higher. It's a bit over 5 megabits a second. So that's interesting. All right, so what this is indicating to me is the slowness is in this Ethernet interface. Maybe that is as fast as this can go, but surely not. Surely this, the W5500 could do up to, in theory, 100 megabits a second. So why aren't we getting it? All right, something else to look at. I'm going to have a look in my, look at the port information on the Unify switch. So you can't see what I'm doing right now. I'm just going to get myself into the interface for 112. Someone's messaging me, which I'm sure is about something that I really should be paying attention to. But I am just logging myself in. All right, now I need to extract the password, which I will do off screen where you can't see it. Got to look up the pass for my Unify console. Now, where are the devices? Desk 1, is that it? I've got to do, I'm not sure which. Gigabit Ethernet, okay. We can find this. All right, now back to here. So momentarily, what have we got? Clear ifconfig eth1, and the MAC on it is B827. So it's not that one. Is it this? Yes, there it is. Okay. 40 CD. That is the MAC address of our interface, and this is the Ethernet switch that it's plugged into, and the experience is FE, which is full speed Ethernet. Full speed being 100 megabits per second, I believe. Although maybe I'm wrong. FE Ethernet. Oh, FE. FE Ethernet. Fast Ethernet. Yeah, fast Ethernet is 100 megabit per second. Regular Ethernet is 10 megabits per second. So, okay. It is connecting at that speed. So, what I'm curious to know is if I unplug from here, I'm just going to unplug the cable and shove it back into the onboard Ethernet on the Pi, and see if this now reports gigabit. No, it hasn't updated. We might have to wait for a little bit to get its stats coming off the device again, off the Ethernet switch. I've got a firmware update for my access point. iPerf 3 time. Henrik says check the datasheet. Oh, Amori says original Xerox Ethernet was 3 megabits per second. Yeah, sorry, I'm ignoring a bit of history there. And early Ethernet didn't look anything like what we think of as Ethernet today. It was very, very different. Thomas B says datasheet for WS5500 mentions 80 megahertz under ideal conditions. Yeah, so maybe it is worth looking at something like the W6100. Let's force an update and see. It's still got the same. Yeah, don't know why, but it's not updating its information here about what's plugged into it. Oh, now it's saying gigabit Ethernet. Yeah, okay. Raspberry Pi Foundation, GBE. Yes. Now, what were those notifications that were dinging before? It was probably someone trying to get my attention, telling me about something stupid that I'm doing, but notifications. Why is it that notifications on computers suck so much? So often I get something that goes ding, and then I've got no idea what machine it was that made the ding. Yeah. SPI bus issues, says Joel. Yeah, what's the SPI clock running at? That's a good question, Stephen. I don't know. Joel says, check Discord. Yeah, that's probably what it is. All right. Now, so, SPI. Could be SPI, yes. How do we determine that? I don't even know. How do we check the speed of SPI? Ah, Joel says, I sent you the SPI bus limitations. Ah, so Joel, it wasn't just a generic, you should check Discord. It was an actual, you should check Discord. Thanks, Angry Telstra Man. The SPI bus can run at high speed, transferring data at up to 60 megabits per second over short distances, like between chips and a board. The bus is conceptually simple, consisting of a clock, 2 data lines, and a chip select signal. Yeah, that doesn't... So why are we limited to about 5 or 6 megabits per second? Yeah, that's megabits, not megabytes. Yes, that's right. I think we're all talking about megabits per second. Joel said, what is speed test on? Yeah, it's megabits per second, not megabytes. I've got into another one of those brain spin things. Okay. Oh, interesting. So, expected WISNet 850 IO Ethernet speed. I think this could be useful, Maina. Let's go and have a look. Let's see what they say. And it's running at 33. SPI is running at 33 megahertz. Maximum bandwidth is 9 megabits per second. Is that all I should expect? The maximum, interesting. So Becky from WISNet said the maximum speed of the W5500 is 15 megabits per second. At this time, the speed, sorry, I'm reading something that you can't see. So this is the link that Maina just posted. And this is the critical thing. 5500 is limited to 15 megabits per second. Speed is determined by the MCU and SPI settings. Please adjust the SPI clock speed or apply DMA. Okay, so it looks like if we messed around with SPI settings, we could potentially get 15 megabits per second through this. However, that makes me sad. I'm disappointed. It'd be nice. I know the whole point of this is to make an access point that is for IoT devices. It doesn't, for that application, it doesn't need high throughput. But still, being limited to 5 megabits per second is kind of annoying. It means that you couldn't really use it for connecting phones and laptops and those sorts of things and get reasonable performance. I'd like to get it running fast enough that like it's not going to compete with a proper access point for high throughput where you get hundreds of megabits per second. But it'd be nice that if you could have this access point in use and then connect to it from your phone or a laptop or something and not be totally crippled by the throughput. Yeah, Michael says, I can feel a board redesign coming. Henrik says, I finally got to be helpful. It's not final, you are helpful, Henrik. Yeah, keep in mind that WS5500 is an older chip. It is an older chip. So let's have a quick look. WISNet W5500 versus W6100 speed. Was higher performing. Okay, what have we got here? Greater than 70 megahertz SPI. Yeah, I think this has 100 base C connectivity. Pin compatible with the 5100. Not as fast as the 5300. Weird. Okay. So okay, so Amori says with 33 megahertz SPI, you can do only 3 megabytes per second, provided the SPI bus is dedicated to sending data to the Pi. Right. Trady says, I think of it as a feature. We make it to discourage it ever being a botnet by design. Yeah. You could take a minimum of 7 sysclocks, 100 meg in parallel data mode. Oh, you probably can't. You get a bit more zoomage happening here. Double IP2 eval breakout. Alright, so this is a W6100 breakout. And what does it do? Turning out not so well. Okay, skipping. What sort of performance are they getting? DHCP client, come on, let's see some throughput. DHCP discovery. And DHCP is working. Keep going, keep going. Now, I want, come on, I want throughput. I want throughput. So, the other thing that we can look at is totally alternative ways of doing Ethernet. For example, not using an external SPI-based Ethernet chip. So let's see, Raspberry Pi 0W. I know this is going to be a strange search, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do onboard Ethernet. Yeah, these are all the things we've seen before. What I was just trying to find out was whether there is a, what is this using? Is this just a PHY, or is it Ethernet control? It's probably something horrible like an ENC28J60. I can't stand those, which is probably irrational. But yeah, there's a splodge of paint on it. Yeah, it's probably irrational, but I can't stand the ENC28J60 Ethernet chip because I spent way too much time screwing around with it in the early days of Arduino, and the driver situation for it was just horrible. Ross says, ask ChatGPT. It wrote me a Docker container for controlling Rigol power supply and oscilloscope. What? I think the answer to all of our problems right now is just ask ChatGPT. Oh, Henrik says, look in Discord. Okay, back to Discord. So Discord is where all the answers are. WizNet product item W6100. Yeah, all right. Specs on the W6100. Now, trying to collect my thoughts. If the... I'm getting a bad whine on that thing again. I'm going to shut that down before I do collect my thoughts. I'm going to do sudo halt on there because the coil really is whining on that power supply. I'm going to shut it down and power it down. Now, doing this with something like a WizNet chip externally may be totally the wrong approach. What might be a better approach is using the onboard Ethernet in the microcontroller and just using an external PHY. But that will depend on whether the appropriate signals are exposed on the header. Scott says W6100 is also 10/100. Yeah. So Thomas... Oh, which uses microchips LAN 7800. Oh, Thomas said, yeah, exactly, but those pins are not exposed via the header, right? Yeah, that's my worry. Now, let's take a step back for a minute and have a whole meta conversation here, which is, should we be using a Raspberry Pi 0W at all? Okay, let's recap. How did we get here? What was the road that led us to the point where we have a carrier board with a Raspberry Pi 0W on it? And the logic. You've heard bits of this logic in the past, but I'm just going to try to put it into like a cohesive sequence of how I got to this decision point. My very first experiments with this were using a regular Raspberry Pi 3B Plus and running Raspbian and doing the host APD config so that I could do personal pre-shared keys. That worked fine. Then what I thought was, I want to be able to do an improved antenna. I don't want to have, well, two things. I want to have an improved antenna, so I want an external antenna connection, and I want to mount it in an enclosure and do PoE. So those three things. Now the big limitation with mounting it in an enclosure is mechanical. It is just that the Ethernet connection on the the ports that are on a Raspberry Pi 3 do not work well in the enclosure. Now, I may have here, let's see, I may have here an early prototype that took a totally different approach. Where is it? Not that one. This one, yes. These are bare PCBs, but somewhere here I have one populated, I think. Maybe not in this box. That's interesting. I thought there was one fully populated, but I don't know where it's ended up. Okay, so I will use these for illustration, and I will switch to camera 3 and stick this down here. Now, what this one used, and I'm going to say bye-bye as I slide over here. What this version used was a Rock Pi S connected in here, and the reason there is a big hole here is its Ethernet socket had to fit through that space. I mounted it upside down and the Ethernet came here. So what happened was, you see how there's a footprint here for an Ethernet socket and a footprint here for an Ethernet socket. They're on the bottom of the PCB. I wish I had the AP, because I do have one of these assembled somewhere. So what happened was, the Rock Pi plugs in here, and then I got a short Ethernet cable. It was like a 10 centimeter patch lead that plugged in here. It looped around, wrapped under the PCB, and it plugged into this Ethernet socket here. And that then passes through and it goes to this Ethernet socket, and this is the one that's exposed in the enclosure. So if I grab our current board, that socket there and that socket there are in the same position. So from an I/O point of view, you can see it's got the power jack, it's got the button on there, it's got the PoE bypass things on here. That's actually how we ended up with this. This was the generation before it. And the reason for doing this pass-through is that the Ethernet socket on the Rock chip could not be aligned with the hole in the enclosure, and I wanted to be able to tap off for power over Ethernet, which is what all of this is related to. So using a board with an onboard Ethernet chip, an onboard Ethernet socket like this, which is not in the position we want, means doing something really dodgy, like having an internal cable to pass it through to here in order just to get it to the back panel and allow us to tap off PoE. So that was, yeah, that did not go too well. The other problem was that I had problems with the software on the Rock chip, and I couldn't get the pre-shared key stuff working properly. So I ended up deciding to go back to a Raspberry Pi, but using the 0W, instead of the 3, so that I could use an external Ethernet chip and do this. Because if I use something like a Pi 3, and the other factor at the time was, this was in the early days of when Raspberry Pis were becoming unobtainium, and the Pi 3 was totally unobtainium, but the 0 you could still buy easily enough. So that was also a justification in switching to a 0. But now the 0s are also unobtainium. So we're in this situation where we are using a 0W on the carrier board with an external Ethernet chip for kind of historical reasons. And perhaps I should be thinking about something else entirely, like going back to a Pi 3B+, going for a Rock chip, In fact, I wonder where those things are. I had a few rock chips. There should be a whole lot more stuff in this IoT access point box. This box, it's missing things. It's missing the rock chips. Maybe they are in the my Raspberry Pi box. That seems possible. Oh, hang on. No. I know. There is a whole other box of IoT stuff. This is what I should have been showing you. There we go. Ah, yes. Found it. It was sitting beside me all along. Okay. This is a better illustration of what I was talking about. So this is the Rock Pi S. And you can see that its Ethernet is exposed there. It's mounted upside down. So I had a cable. Do I have a little Ethernet patch lead up here? No, I do not. So I won't bother. But yeah, what I did was plug Ethernet into there, wrap it around, and then it came underneath and it plugged into that connector there, which then passes it through to here. So when this is mounted in the enclosure, the Ethernet from the Rock Pi is passed all the way through to here and exposed on the external connector, which worked, but it just strikes me as really, really ugly. And that's the external antenna, so that was mounted there somewhere. Now, so I am having a bit of a crisis right now. Is this the right path? Should I go back to something like a Rock Pi? Because the thing is that you can buy these and they're cheap. So, I don't know. Oh, Cable Tie says, I've implemented the HLK 7261. Sorry, I have not been reading chat for the last minute or two, so I've got to catch up. What is the HLK gigabit gateway router module from Highlink? Okay, that's interesting. Right. Development, OpenWRT development module. So what Cable Tie is talking about is this thing here. And USD 18 bucks. Scott says, at some point he'll decide to stop trying to use a pre-built SBC. Yeah, possibly. Amori said going for an RPi Pico. Peter says move to a Beagle V. Trady Trev, yeah, good point. It says not all solutions work the best, and this is all the part of engineering. That's right. It's all trade-offs and trying to figure out different approaches to things. Oh, Henrik says, look in Discord, I sent an interesting product link from Amazon. Okay, let's check Discord again. What is this one? Pluggable USB to, oh, it's an on-the-go 100 megabits Ethernet controller. This is with a USB interface. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I wonder what chip it uses. But the thing is that because it connects via USB, which I don't think is exposed on the Raspberry Pi header, we'd have to plug it in internally, and I don't think that would be a great solution, but thanks for that as an idea. Oh, Stephen says, Mango Pi M-Core H616. Let's check this out. Mango Pi. What have we got here? Ooh, this is interesting. Because, yeah, I do like the idea of this sort of thing where it's a board that sits on top of a carrier. That's physically huge. That thing's massive. I suppose it's got a lot of stuff on it though. rather than something that's like an SBC. This is more of a modular sort of approach. So tell me about Mango Pi. Oh look, there's a board with some spring pins on it with all the stuff broken out. Mango Pi schematic reference design, interesting. So the reference design, is that an Ethernet connector? It's hard to tell. I think it might be. So what have we got? All that stuff, gigabit DDR, HDMI and CV, audio, USB OTG, eFi, 100 megabits per second. Okay, so it looks like it does have that on it. And let's have a, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Reference design, package schematic. Let's see if we can find anything useful in the schematic. Need to be able to see. That's a start. What have we got? Anything useful on there? CS, CPU. Got I2C there. Oh, eFi. Okay, so up here we've got all of this Ethernet stuff here. So we've got TXP, TXN, RXP, RXN, RTX, VCC to the eFi, and so it does look like it has the Ethernet stuff there that's necessary, and that's good. Okay. So, oh, Amori says has 100 and gigabit. Oh, Jordan says a CM4 has PCIe, which would allow for high-speed networking. Peter says, stop using Broadcom, people. Mango Pi. Yeah, it's interesting that the Mango Pi has these parts on the back, which means that if you're going to be loading it flat on a carrier, the carrier is going to need a hole in it. Obviously just couldn't fit everything on, but it is nice of them that they grouped all of the parts on the back into one little area, and they put a big white line around it as a border so you can see where it needs to go. So at least that would sit in a hole in the carrier. I'm yeah. This is not a decision to be taken lightly. Like doing a radical design change like this. Okay. State of the project. We now have a setup script that if you take a standard Raspbian install, you copy the directory on, which is currently on Git, you run the setup script, bada boom, bada bing, you've got yourself a wireless access point that will do personal pre-shared keys on an off-the-shelf Raspberry Pi, like a Pi 3B Plus. That is useful in itself. So even just doing that, we now have something that is that's an achievement. So then the question is custom hardware to make this into something like an access point that is more reminiscent of a UniFi or Cisco or whatever access point, the little UFO stuck to the ceiling sort of thing. And ideally with nicer antenna and things like status indication, power over Ethernet support, all those good things. So to achieve that, that's really what this is about. What should be used? Stephen says the issue with any SBC other than a Raspberry Pi is maintenance and setup won't be as simple and easy. Yeah. Or Mad Techie said avocado pie. Amuri pointed out we have something that works, kind of slow, but should be sufficient for IoT stuff. Yes. So the thing is that we have a working system. With the current arrangement, it seems to max out at around 5 megabits per second, but it works. So I suppose this is a question to throw out to you. Is anybody interested in playing around with these boards? Forget this one for now. Playing around with these boards as they are with the 5 megabit per second limitation. Now I need to fix, because this is the thing. If you care about doing DIY power over Ethernet, I need to fix the design of this board, which is what I did on the last stream. So I would need to order PCBs. I have a few of these PCBs, but I can't just ship them because of that flaw with the power over Ethernet. So what I could do is I could order the PCBs for these as they stand with the fixed PoE, and if there are people that want to play around with it, yeah, you can see the little dodgy patch wire on there that I did to fix the PoE. And if you have a Raspberry Pi Zero W and you want to play around with this, you think this project is interesting, I could fabricate some and send them to people. But it does have that limitation, the 5 megabits per second limitation. Is there anybody that would want to do this? Yeah. Maybe what I should do is like a pre-order sort of thing. If I can get, say, 5 people, if I can get 5 of these that people want, could be one person that wants 5, it could be 5 people that want 1, I don't know. But if we can, what I'm just trying to think about is it needs to be worthwhile ordering those PCBs and paying for them. So if a few people want to play around with this project as it stands with this custom carrier board, oh, Pete says he'll take one. Oh, Scott says wait for Austin's PoE fix. Yeah, so this is really the point of decision of, do we keep working on this platform or jump to something else? Now, Scott said wait for Austin's PoE fix, but I don't think that would be, that's not a showstopper, because the thing is that that's a nicety. If you want to do DIY PoE, like this one does it all. It does 802.3 PoE, it does DIY PoE. The only thing is that you have to put the jumpers on for DIY PoE, but like takes 10 seconds. It's easy to do. The nice thing about what Austin is doing is that there would be no need for the jumpers. You would just plug it in, and whatever power you send it, it'll work. That's the polished version, but it's certainly not necessary. This, with the track fix, which I've already done in CAD, works perfectly well. So, Michael said getting the Pis is still going to be your issue. Oh, Agim said I'd also get one. Oh, Amanda asked how much dollars. That is a good question. So, part of this. Okay. I'm just making up numbers. Like, if I was going to be pricing this as a proper product that was going on sale, I would do a full BQT spreadsheet and cost it all out. It's not even worth my time to do that. Like, the time to cost this out at my billable rate is more than the board, and this is only going to be for a few of them. So I could just make up an arbitrary price. So would you be willing to pay, well, the number that comes off the top of my head is $50 for this, and that is probably less than I would sell them for. If this was fully done, it'd probably be more than that, but I could make a few of these, like without the Raspberry Pi obviously, but the carrier board, unfortunately without the enclosure, because the enclosure alone is like 20 bucks. But I could make the carrier board with the PoE regulator and the switch mode power supply, the Ethernet chip, and the, everything on it, exactly as you see here, say 50 bucks, give or take. Yeah, Pi availability. Peter, doing your very worthwhile job as lunch police, 15 minutes. So, yeah, Amori said, or get the Gerbers out and we can order them directly from Boardhouse. Yeah, the board design is on GitHub, so you can do that already. Graham asked a very interesting question, which is the plastic case the driving factor rather than its actual function? A whole lot of the design decisions are being dictated by the choice of enclosure. That is absolutely correct, which is not necessarily the best basis for it. Agim asked, do you happen to know how much would shipping cost to Croatia? So the shipping cost to Croatia, I'm thinking back to what it costs me to send stuff. It's it'll be a largish box. Using standard shipping to Croatia, it's probably going to be in the order of 20 to 25 Australian dollars, give or take. So like 15 to 20 bucks US, if that makes more sense in terms of exchange rate. Peter said, UD, $49.95, no more. I'll give you the 5 cents, Peter. Henrik said, the live stream is almost over. I just hope you check my last link in Discord. Let's see, what is the last link? And that is this one. Okay. USB 3.2. Oh, this is the one that does the, yeah. I have seen these. This is a real limitation. Henrik, the way these things work is they have this bridge, this USB bridge, because they need the USB because the pins aren't available on the I/O header, which is quite frustrating and sad. It's unfortunate that the pins necessary for this sort of stuff just aren't on that I/O header. So this uses this mostly for pass-through. Yeah, this is a driver-free 3 ports USB 3.2 Gen 1 hub hat, also with gigabit Ethernet port. Almost like it's an afterthought. Oh yeah, it's a USB hub. Oh, and it's got gigabit Ethernet. Isn't that the important thing? Well, it would be for me. Yeah, so they've had to do this little dodgy jumper thing there. If we could get access to USB, I think we would be better off. We would have more options in terms of what interface we could use, or what we could use for the Ethernet interface. Yes. No, don't apologize, Henrik. You're coming up with good suggestions. Henrik said, sorry, I missed that. Yeah. Yeah, the Ethernet options for Raspberry Pi do tend to rely on Ethernet. Oh, not on Ethernet. On USB. And it's just sad that we can't get USB without bridging around from one of those connectors. Oh, and Amori said, then there's the compute module with Wi-Fi that has Ethernet output. Oh, okay, there are a couple of different things. There are some important things here in the chat. So Amori's first. There's the compute module with Wi-Fi that has Ethernet output. Yes, that is also unobtainium. Pi CM4. Now my plan had been to begin, in fact I've already got the connectors for it. My plan was that what I would do, the sequence of events. I first prototyped on a Raspberry Pi 3B+. My plan following on from that was to go to the 0W on the carrier board, and if all of that worked out well, to then go to something like a CM4. But the problem is CM4s you can't even buy now. List of boards we carry. I don't know, I'll just pick one. Let's go for this. Out of stock. Yeah, everywhere you go. If you go to Pi Locator or whatever it is it rpilocator.com? I can't remember the name of it. I think that's it. Yes, rpi locator. So let's look for CM4. CM4 filter, and did that actually filter anything? Mod. Alright, so there are some in stock. What have we got? Oh no, that's rpi 3 model A. Why is mod? Okay, I don't get it. Why did that filter not work? Let's just try this. CM4. Is it going to filter? No. What is going on with this? I don't know. Anyway, where is the CM4? Yeah. Basically, these are the only things that are in stock at the moment. There is the rpi Model B, these old Model A pluses, the Raspberry Pi 3s. Oh, okay. CM4, no, yeah, and this is with no Wi-Fi. So there aren't any available with Wi-Fi. And that is 57 euros or 50 euros. So 16 gigabyte eMMC. So let's have a look at this one. So this is the CM4. Yeah, accept all cookies. I'm hungry for cookies. This is the CM4 with 1 gigabyte of RAM, 16 gigabyte of flash, which would be perfect for our purposes, but no Wi-Fi, and it's 51-ish euros. So the Wi-Fi version of that, compute module 4, is what I would have wanted to use, but you just can't buy them. Yeah. Oh, Stephen says you can get the CM4 out of AliExpress, but it is dollars. Yeah. Agim, good night. Right. 5 minutes till lunch, says Richard. Yeah. Oh, Richard says, I use a board from Waveshare designed for the CM4 that has better Ethernet thanks to PCIe. Still, CM4 equals unobtainium. And this is the problem. And this is why I keep going back to things like RockPi S. And where do I buy it? Shop. RockPi S v1.3. Look at this. Oh, that's the without Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, but let's go for one of the higher spec ones. Without Bluetooth Wi-Fi, I want with Bluetooth Wi-Fi. 512. Which one will I go for? 512 with Bluetooth Wi-Fi and 1 gigabyte NAND, $28. Okay. So this one has, it's only got 512 megabytes of RAM, but that's okay. We're not building a desktop machine here. It does have Wi-Fi and it's got 4 gigabytes of NAND on it. So you can load the operating system directly onto the NAND flash. You don't need an SD card. And it's 28 bucks. And you can buy them. Like, I could say, give me 10 please, and buy them right now. It's not a problem. So, let's go, in fact, let's go up with Bluetooth and, oh, that was only 1 gigabyte of NAND. 4 gigabyte of NAND is 29, 8 gigabyte of NAND is 38. But there is an SD card slot on them as well, so you can just run them with SD card. Yeah. Mad Techie says use Rock Pi. Makes sense. It does make sense, but for the Ethernet thing. And there are all of those, yeah, there are all those alternatives. Earlier people were talking about lots of different things. I'm just scrolling back in the chat. So, you know, with this sort of thing, I am really tempted to go back and experiment a little bit more. Now, the thing is that when I was playing around with this version, now the thing is, this works. Electrically, it works. PoE works. Like you can see I've got bodge wires on there, but that was just to fix some I2C stuff, I think. Then the power supply works, PoE works, the power pass-through works, networking works. If I just put in a little patch lead plugging from there, wrapping around and plugging into that, I've got Ethernet, we've got Wi-Fi with an external antenna. One of the main reasons that I actually abandoned this and ended up going back to a Pi was I was having trouble with the software side of it running on the Rock Pi S. That was messing me up. But the thing is, now having gone through this whole process over the last couple of months, we collectively know, and well, I know a lot more now. I've learned a huge amount from all of you helping me through this process. I know a whole lot more now about setting up the software, and I may be able to get this going. So maybe where we should go next is just trying to get the host APD stuff running on the Rock Pi S. This has got Debian installed on it. So this one has NAND flash, I think. It's got an SD card plugged in, as you can see. But I'm pretty sure I had Debian running on this. So maybe we can get host APD working on this and see if we can get better throughput. What I could do, in fact, a very simple test would be just plug this in, power it up, and do a speed test. See what we get. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so Aherip, I'm having trouble reading that name. Aherip System says, have a look at the Big Tree Tech CB1 and Pi 4B adapter. Yeah, I have seen that. I'm just going to I'm going to pull that up on here. Big Tree Tech, this thing. Yeah, so this takes the CM4. I have looked at this before. But the thing is, once again, the CM4 is unobtainium. So what this breakout does, oh, excuse me, basically it takes a CM4 and it turns it back into a Pi 4. Turns it into a regular Pi 4. Block those notifications by giving you all of the connectors that you would normally have on a Raspberry Pi, including the dual HDMI, there's the USB-C. So what you do is you take a CM4, you plug it into this carrier board, and hey, you've got yourself a Raspberry Pi 4. But we can't buy the CM4. It is a, oh, okay. Here it says, it's not a CM4, it has an H616 processor CB1. So where do you get the CB1? Is that available? CB1? Come on, CB1. OS image for CB1. Is the CB1 obtainable? Let's find CB1 on the BQ store. CB1, package discounts. No, I just want the CB1. Where is it? when I looked at this last time, I couldn't actually find the CB1 on its own. I found the adapter, but not just the CB1. Let's try this. Discounts, H2, V2, CB1 plus, this is like everything together. I just want to buy a CB1. I think this might be where I got frustrated last time. I was looking around the BQ site and I just couldn't find, let's just go back to Google, CB1. CB1 V2. Alright, so this is on some other site. Oh, okay, so not on the BQ site, but here, Big Tree Tech CB1 to $40, I guess US, and as an alternative to the CM4. So yes, as you said, it's an all-winner H616 quad-core Cortex 1.5 gigahertz, 100 megabits Ethernet plus 100 meg Wi-Fi, same BTB header as a Raspberry Pi CM4. All right. Oh, rubber ducky. So you can do an external antenna on it. That is interesting. Yes, as Cable Tie said, good luck, Peter, he's in flow. Right, I got into flow like in the... There, Amori says there is a ROC 3 compute module. Interesting. Oh, and Henrik said, IMCU 7100 EVB. This looks interesting. ROC Pi 3 compute module. Okay, let's go back to Discord. Here we go. Yep, from Raja, $50. ROC 3 compute module as a SOM. Okay, so we want Wi-Fi, 2 gig of RAM. That's nicely spec'd. 16 gig eMMC for $50. Let's down spec it a little. Go for 8 gig and 1 gig of RAM. Comes down to $40. Oh, sold out. Okay, that one's not available. What if I do 2 gig of RAM? No. That, okay, so looks like that is the lowest spec one that is in stock. All right, so we could do 2 gig of RAM, 16 gig eMMC for 50, I guess, US dollars. And hopefully, once again, it's got the same pinout. So what this means is we now have 3 options for compute module type devices. There is the, I'm going to say, genuine CM4. There's the Raja ROC 3 computing module, and there is the CB1, which in theory probably plug into the same header and are interoperable in terms of the carrier board. That's a cat among the pigeons, because that gives options. Having options is good. Yeah, Peter said, why don't you check, test the ROC board and check speed on that? Yes, yes. Oh, Stephen W said, what about no eMMC? Oh, I hadn't even thought of checking that. Nope, sold out. So, at least it is with, yeah, with all sizes of RAM. So, oh, and a hair system says, also Pine 64 is so quartz module, same module, same CM4 pinouts. Right. So now we have 4 options that will go onto the CM4 footprint. Okay, I'm liking that. But as Peter pointed out, I think the first step is going to be to, I'm going to plug this back in and test the throughput. I might just do that. I don't know if I can wait. Okay, it is time to wrap up the stream. And I don't know if I can wait 2 weeks to do that. Or maybe I should do an off-schedule stream. Oh, Andy. Okay, so I will stop butchering your name. $34 in stock. Yeah, so the Pine 64 So Quartz. I'm just going to look that up. Going back to here, Pine 64 shop, $75 US, it says there. That's the 8 GB compute module. Is there a different version? Compute modules. So Quartz. Okay. There it is, the 2 GB compute module W for $34.99. It's optionally MMC, but does it have an SD slot on it somewhere? eDPI, gigabit Ethernet, 802.11 BGNAC, that's nice, dual band is nice. Yeah, okay, well that is a an interesting looking option as well. So, back to there. All right, chasing squirrels. Yes, we are. Trady Trev, thanks for the free lunch. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, my stomach is quite upset. All right, so wrapping this up. Things to do. I need to check the throughput on the Rock Pi S. And I can do that even without having the wireless access point thing working. I'll plug it in, power it up, and see what the networking does. That hopefully will give some indication of the feasibility of using something like a Rock Pi S. Andy says, no SD card, it's on the carrier board as per CM4. Yeah, okay, cool. So we just put an SD card on the carrier. That's no problem. So I need to go back to my previous design and check on that. I really want to do it on a stream, but this is the point I was getting to. Stream Sunday is Christmas Day. I'm not going to be streaming on Christmas Day. Yeah. So my next normally scheduled live stream is going to be in 2 weeks' time, which is sad. I'm going to miss you all. I'm going to have to do an off-schedule stream. Maybe next Saturday, perhaps, which is like Christmas Eve day. I might do a stream then. Yeah, anyway. Okay, in the meantime, if you have a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus and you want to experiment with this IoT Access Point project, please go and check it out and report back. I'm going to get the URL up here and drop it in the chat. Boink. So, yeah, what I would really like to hear from are other people that have reproduced this. It should be as simple as factory, like Raspbian install, download the directory, run the setup script, reboot, boom, you've got yourself an access point. So if anybody else can do this and let me know, that would be really cool. I would really like to hear success stories. So I am going to go, even though it feels like I've only just started the live stream because my brain has only just got engaged and my okay, I've got a couple of people saying they're going to give it a go. That's good. And yeah, it feels like I've just started, but I really should go. My stomach is telling me it's time to go. Delane, thanks for the good time. Imogen, have a good Christmas. Yes. Since it's almost Christmas time, final 30 seconds, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you. And I started doing these live streams a couple of years ago now, at the start of the very first lockdown for COVID, as a way of connecting with people and having interaction when I couldn't get out and see people in person. And yeah, for me personally, it's been fantastic having this as an opportunity to talk to people and interact and find out about what's going on with all of you as well, and having you help me out with these projects. So it's something that's really important to me, and it's something that I look forward to every week. Yeah, I really love doing these. I love interacting with all of you, and thank you very much for taking out so much time, because it is a long time. 2 hours is a long time to sit there and watch me blather about stuff. The fact that you come along and chat to me makes all of this worthwhile. So if I don't talk to you in the meantime, I hope you have a fantastic Christmas day, or happy Saturnalia, or however you want to celebrate it. And I will talk to you all soon. Go and build yourselves an access point, and go and build something awesome. See ya.